expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of Running Point here on a Monday, October 17th. And boy, oh boy, we have a big show packed for you today. We're going to be having John Begg of the Struthers Wildcats football program on at 1 o'clock. We're going to be having DJ Williams, the record breaker over at Austintown Fitch, on at 1:30. We're going to have a pre-recorded interview with Macy Toporser from Canfield Girls Soccer. And we're going to lead off the show with the 9-0 Edison Wildcats football head coach and Coach Mike Colopy. Coach, nice to have you on again for the show, and nice for you to join us once again.
Well, thanks for having me again.
I mean, Coach, let's first and foremost just start with the fact that we've had you on beginning of the season. We brought you back on mid-season, and kind of the theme we kind of went with at the beginning of the season, how are you going to top these last 3 years? You guys have consistently gotten better year in and year out. And you talked about trusting the process. You talked about the growth that these boys have had over the offseason. Midway through, you guys were undefeated, and you talked about just keeping with that process 1 week at a time. Well, now, Coach, we're on that cusp now. We are 9 weeks through the season. You guys are 9-0, and you're staring in the face at a potential 10-0 regular season. Talk to me first and foremost about the work that the boys have put in, and just the prospect of what it would mean for Edison football program to go 10-0 this year.
Well, as far as the work that the kids have done, they've answered every challenge, that have been in front of them to this point. And I'm not talking about games, but, we've challenged them on a daily basis to improve, whether it's individually, or whether it's on, one side of the ball or the other. They've stepped up in that regard, but this week honestly has nothing to do with, records or anything like that. I mean, we're playing Indian Creek, which is one of our rivals. We haven't had a whole lot of success with them over the years. And when you play this game, the records don't really matter. You can throw out the records. It doesn't really matter, what either team has done to the season at this point. And it really doesn't matter what's happened in the past. The only thing it's going to matter is, which team is going to go out, be prepared and play the best on Friday. So that's kind of our, that's what we're focusing on right now.
In your film that you've gotten to see of Indian Creek this season, and like you say, you throw records out the window, and without giving up the whole playbook, of course, what are some of the things you see in Indian Creek's play style that you guys are going to have to attack to ultimately come out with that 10th victory of the season?
Well, they like to run the ball on the offensive side. I think they have some big guys. I think they like to be physical on the line of scrimmage. They do a nice job of getting, their skill players involved. Like I said, although they're run dominant, they get their guys the ball different ways. On the defensive side, they mix up their looks. They like to stem and move. I'm not saying that they blitz every down, but they like to bring heat and pressure. And, they're well coached. They've been going through, last couple of years hasn't been up to their standard, but they have a long, 15 years or so of tradition of winning. They've been in the playoffs. So we know that, they're well coached. They'll be prepared. and we have to be prepared this Friday.
One thing that helps in that preparation is having a quarterback like Gage Klein that feels like he could do it all. He came up big this past week too, 5 scores, 2 with his legs, 3 with his arm. I mean, talk to me about what that means having a dual threat quarterback and how that opens up your playbook offensively, and how nice has it been over the course of the season having Gage man under center?
Well, I think Coach AP Anthony Pirro, he's our offensive coordinator. I think he does a really good job of getting our guys that can make plays the ball. We have Gage, we have Talon McClurg, he's a really good tailback. We have a couple different guys we use at fullback, Lane Wagner, Matt Parsons. And then we have some guys that, out on the perimeter receivers, Vontae Hayes, Decker Lancaster, Deacon Ross, and Luke Taylor. We have some guys that, they can do some things, and a lot of it, is based off of what the team has given you and what you're preparing for, but that could change as the game starts. I mean, we had, last Friday, we went in with a defensive game plan and kind of had to adapt. And offensively, it's the same thing. I mean, you just got to take what the offense or what the defense has given you on the offensive side. I think Coach AP has done a really good job. I think Coach Fogel, our offensive line coach, has done a really good job of communicating to the line, what we're seeing front-wise. I feel like every week, we're seeing a little different look than maybe what we've seen or we've prepared for, or one that, we've prepared them for, but it wasn't their base coming into the game. So I think the coaches and kids have done a really good job of making those adjustments on Friday.
I think a lot of coaches, area coaches and out of area coaches, as well as programs, are looking at the Edison football program right now as kind of a mold, a blueprint, or a kind of a feel-good story of saying you can make a turnaround and you're never too far away from a turnaround. I mean, you've had success, Coach, with the baseball team years before. We know Edison baseball is no shot at success, but just a few years ago, this program, just like we mentioned with Indian Creek, they went through their struggles as well. Talk about going through that, like day one, turning this program around. What were the steps that went into that, and what made you buy into the turnaround, and how did it all go about, I guess?
Well, to answer that question, there's a couple different parts to it. I guess a complete turnaround, in my opinion, is consistency year after year. As far as where we're at, we're still yet to be proven. We had a good year last year. We're having a nice year this year. We want to build a program that's consistent year after year. And as far as, getting to that point, it's going to continue to take a lot of hard work. Comparing the two sports, there's really no comparison. Our superintendent coach, Mr. Beatty, he's Coach Beatty to me forever. He was our baseball coach. He started our program. He was the first coach we've had when we consolidated in '93. And when I took over from Coach Beatty, the program was established. It was a little bit different with football. Football was ups and downs. We had, a couple different coaches. It seemed like every few years, there was a new coach. So there was a challenge to, set up a program, that could be consistent. And the first thing that you have to do, in my opinion, I was very blessed, when I took over for Coach Beatty and the baseball side of it, is, we had Coach Jim Marcus was his right-hand man for the first 13 years. And he was on, my first staff as the head coach. And then I had another coach that had been a head coach, Joe Samarella, who was our other varsity assistant. And I leaned heavily on those guys. Anybody that's been a head coach knows no matter how much experience you have as an assistant, the first year and even the first couple are like no other. And you have to surround yourself with good people you trust that, they're going to bring something to the table and kind of balance your strengths and weaknesses out. And I feel like that was one of the first things that we needed to do, way back in January of 2021, was find a coaching staff, that had a shared vision of what the program needed to be, was willing to put in the work, and had the talent for whatever it is that they're good at. And you just try to find guys that that want to work hard, that all have the same mindset and goal. And obviously they have to be able to coach. And I feel like we put together a good staff. We have really good kids here, and that's a credit to them. As far as we ask them to do things that they hadn't been asked to do in a while, or maybe never been asked to do. So I think a lot of it is never just one person. It comes down to a lot of people, and we have an administration that is very, academics are always the most important thing at Edison, but they have a sports background. Our principal, is a Hall of Fame baseball coach. Our superintendent is a Hall of Fame baseball coach. Our principal, Mr. Morrison, he was on the Steubenville Big Red 1984 state championship team. I mean, he's sports through and through. I like to kid with him because a lot of times now, some of these older games in the 80s and 90s are going on YouTube, and like he was an outstanding football player. He was a two-way starter for them on a state championship team. So unless you have everybody, kind of pulling the same rope the same way, it can be difficult. So, we're blessed to have a lot of support, and support in athletics is, sometimes coaches get a bad name. I think a lot of people look at them and think, well, what do they really do? There's a lot that goes into it, and it's more than meets the eye, and it's more than what it seems. So like I said, I think it was a combination of a bunch of things, but, like I said, the difference, if you're comparing the two programs, I mean, we're nowhere near where we need to be, on the football end of it. And that's something that we have to continue to work on, daily, and then beyond this year.
And I mean, I've been loving the Edison story all year. I love what you and your administration have done to turn the program around, and I think it's a really cool story. But I have to play devil's advocate in saying that too, because in these 9 games you guys have played, you've dominated your opponents too. You have yet to be tested, and I mean that's a good thing that your team has been going out being dominant on defense. But in the back of your mind, subconsciously, does that not necessarily worry you? But do you think about that a little bit ahead of tournament time, that no one's really tested this team yet? And do you see that as maybe a thing of concern before the playoffs?
Well, hopefully we as coaches, have our guys prepared for that. And we get tested every week. Sometimes the scores aren't always indicative of some of the things that went on. But obviously, if you're good enough, blessed enough to continue to play throughout the postseason, you're going to run into some really good teams. And the games the regular season games, some of them, a lot of them aren't going to be indicative of the type of games you're going to be playing in. So, like I said, we're just really focused on Indian Creek this week, and we know we're going to have a really tough challenge. We have to go to their place. They're always tough at home, and like I said, it's something. This week is something that the communities really get excited for, both ours and theirs. And as far as what we have to do as coaches is, we've told the kids. I mean, we've had different. You have senior night, you have. Homecoming, there's always distractions. And the fact that you're working with kids that are 15 to 18, and we as adults, it's funny how I think as we get older, we forget what it's like to be a kid and the things that go on. So we have to make sure that, as I told them, the other weeks where we've had, whether it was homecoming with the dance or whether it was senior night, that you take all that stuff away. And the most important part of any of those is the actual game. So the focus has to be on the game. Everything else, that takes place before and afterwards has nothing to do with it. It doesn't have an impact on the game. So as long as we take care of what we need to take care of, come out, have good focused week of practice, we're going to give ourselves a chance to come into the game prepared and have a chance to win.
Final question for you, Coach, before we let you go too. And you talk about having those experiences and being challenged. Do you see that experience last year of making the playoffs as beneficial for this group of guys in particular prior to the playoffs this season? And in saying that, I guess, what are some things you are looking at as a coaching staff that you want to fine tune with this team before the start of the playoffs and before Week 10 this upcoming Friday?
Well, that's a really good question. The only thing that you can take from the year before, like I told the kids, wins and losses don't carry over from year to year, but the experience of being in games and being in situations, the more of those that you're in, the more, experiences you have from the mental side of it. So I think that, that I'm sure that played into, some of our confidence, being in situations a year before, having the opportunity, to go into the playoffs. And as far as what we have to work on, I mean, every day it's something. And at the end of every game, we try to enforce and to emphasize to our kids to play hard, to communicate, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. But at the end of the day, when you come in the next day to watch film, those are, we're still making mistakes that, not some of the same mistakes. I think we've cleaned up some of our mistakes, but offensive side, there's mistakes that, we've gotten called for some holding penalties, and, some of them are technique, a lot of them are effort. Formations, communicating with the receivers. I thought Gage has done a really good job of taking control of huddle as the season's gone on. The offensive line sustaining blocks, making sure everybody's on the same page. Defensively, it's alignment assignment. Make sure we're getting the ball. Everybody has a job. Making sure that the back end and the front end are communicating. In special teams, I feel like we've made strides, but we're not where we need to be on it in any aspect of special teams. And anybody that's ever coached knows that there's really two things for certain. You never feel like you're playing to your potential. At least, our coaching staff feels like, that's the goal, is to get to our potential. We feel like we haven't seen that yet consistently. And I feel like you never feel, as a coach, no matter how prepared you are, you never feel like you're prepared enough. You always go into a game thinking, do we go over this enough? Because it's the unknown. And, sometimes, like I said, all that comes down to is when the game starts, players being on the same page and trusting one another, and our coaches trusting one another. And then obviously the trust between the coaches and the players. And I think we've done a good job. The kids have been really receptive. Our coaches have made really good adjustments at halftime throughout the season. And, like I said, to this point, this week we haven't done anything. So that's kind of been our mantra, or, we talk about, each week being a 1 week season, and it doesn't really matter what you did the week before, and it sure as heck has no bearing on the week ahead. So, like I said, our goal is to come out today, make sure that whatever practice plan we have, which Mondays are Mondays, to make sure that everybody's on the same page, that we have a building block and a base to start our practice Tuesday and Tuesday to Wednesday and so forth. I know it sounds really boring, but that's kind of how, that's kind of what you have to do. And, hopefully we're going to continue to do that. And, with that, hopefully our consistency improves.
Well, Coach, I want to congratulate you on the 9-0 start. Wish you the best of luck against Indian Creek in Week 10. Win today, win this week, and hopefully the next time we're talking to you, we're talking about 10-0.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach. That's Coach Colopy, the baseball and football head coach, man of many hats over there at the Edison program, and does a fantastic job. I mean, we're talking about an Edison Wildcat football team that was just a few years ago talking about 0-10 and completely changing that, turning it around 180. And he talked about it, though, that consistency is the one thing he's looking to find. Well, Edison last year, 8-win team a year ago, made the playoffs. They're a 9-win team, and they're gearing up to host some playoff games this year as well. So Edison back-to-back years making the playoffs, on the right track, looking to get to be a consistent football team. Don't forget, we will also have an interview with Macy Toporser that was pre-recorded with Anthony Hartwig on today's show, Canfield girls soccer player. We will also have Coach John Bayek from the Struthers Wildcats. I know we're loving the Wildcats today, but the Struthers Wildcats head coach going to be coming on at 1 o'clock after that huge win against the Girard Indians that have secured now the Struthers Wildcats a spot in the playoffs. Also at 1:30, the record breaker, the rainmaker, 301 yards of rushing, DJ Williams from Austintown Fitch had against the rival Boardman Spartans. It is an Austintown record. We're going to have that young man on for the first time this year on Running Point as well, 1:30 for that interview. But without further ado, we're about 20 minutes into this show. Why don't we take our first break of the show? When we come back, we're going to get through the Friday and Saturday football games and recaps that happened for week 9 on ysnlive.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it, Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
Welcome back, everybody, to Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown as we get into our Week 9 recaps of the high school football season. We're going to go over records as well as playoff outlooks for these teams, according to the computer rankings brought to you by Joe Itel. And Joe Itel actually does a great job. You can go check them out, joeitel.com. Our own Steve Leslie actually did an interview with the man behind it, Joe Itel himself, last year. You could go check that interview out on ysnlive.com. But he updated the computer rankings as well as have what basically where these teams can shake out and where they can place in the top 16 in their respective regions, what the highest number they can rank at, what the lowest number they can rank at. So we'll go over that as well as these results right now. Starting off with the Friday results, we'll go right at the game I was at. It was Austintown Fitch beating the Boardman Spartans 42-20, and it was a case of a game that was really close for a decent amount of the game until the Falcons really were able to get turnovers and turn those into scores. Davion Pritchard, my man, 2 picks on the defensive side after getting a game-winning pick against the Wadsworth Grizzlies the week before. He's been on fire defensively. Dominic Perry, who came up shy on the touchdown per week that he was doing for, I think, 3 weeks straight. He didn't get one last week against Wadsworth, where he got 2 to make up for it against the Boardman Spartans, one from 2 different quarterbacks. Deshaun Vaughn threw him one earlier in the game, and then Cam Smith, who checked in because Vaughn had an injury later in the game. Cam Smith comes in and throws a dart to Perry in the end zone and was one of the plays of the game, in my opinion, as that was a big score that helped seal it for the Falcons. 42-20. Fitch now 8-1 on the campaign. Boardman is 4-5. We look into the Region 5 standings. Austintown Fitch now is sitting at 3rd overall, with Hoban at 1, Riverside at 2, and right now Fitch, we're looking at their ranking with a win next week. They will be ranked within between 2 and 5, as well as a loss. So the Falcons guaranteed to be a top 5 team in Region 5, win or lose this upcoming week. However, the Falcons would love to make sure that they win to secure at least a top 4 position and host at least the first 2 playoff games. Boardman, with that loss, has dropped to 17, still on the outside looking, and Willoughby South is a team they're chasing. Ashtabula Lakeside also at 15, somewhat close to Boardman, but the closest shot they have is Willoughby South. For this case, Boardman, with a win, can be 12 to out as the range. With a loss, 16 to out. A loss can still potentially sneak the Spartans into the playoffs. A lot would need to happen around them for that to happen. Boardman, though, with a win, has a shot at making the playoffs. Willoughby South, another 4-5 team ahead of the Spartans, is playing 8-1 Riverside, another Division II opponent. You got to figure, though, you win that one, Boardman wins their game just because of the records, too. Riverside and Canfield being a division separating those two. Potentially, Willoughby South takes it, being that they're already up by almost 2.5 points. But Boardman still have playoff hopes alive. They're going to have a tough task ahead of them in the Canfield Cardinals for Week 10. Brookfield are the MVAC Gray Division champions after a 35-14 win over the Garrettsville Garfield G-Men. Brookfield is now 8-1 on the campaign, while the G-Men are now 7-2. For Brookfield over in Division 6, that bumps them up to 5 overall, or Division 6 Region 21. They are 5th, 14.6 points is what they're at total, as they are just about a half point, or a little over a half point, I should say, separating them and Valley Christian, another YSN school that is sitting at 4. So interesting to see where Brookfield will shake out in that one. Garfield over in Division 5 right now is sitting at number 10. So not hosting a playoff game, but still in the playoffs are the G-Men. Newton Falls puts a goose egg on the Red Devils with a 37-0 victory for the Tigers, sending them to 3-6 on the year. Camel now is 2-7. Warren JFK goes up a few divisions and takes it to Cleveland Central Catholic, who was winless heading into this game. They'll stay winless after it with a 44-8 victory. JFK is now 7-1 on the season, as Cleveland Central Catholic is 0-9. That's, of course, Big points for JFK, who was already firmly in number 1 seed. They clinched it because of that win, helped them clinch number 1 overall in Region 25. So JFK is locked into the 1 spot. They are guaranteed to host the first 2 playoff games, providing that they win their first. And right now, if the playoffs were to start, they would be taking on the Wyndham Bombers, an old PTC rival for the JFK Eagles. As Columbiana gets their second win of the season, 2 in a row now for the Clippers after a 41-0 goose egg laid on the Latonia Bears. Columbiana now 2-7 on the year. Latonia is 0-9 after this contest. Crestview goes to 3-5 on the season after a 35-14 victory against Champion, which now puts the Flashes at 3-6. Crestview, with the win right now, has gotten themselves into the 16th spot in Region 21. Problem is, they would be lined up with Kirtland as it stands right now. But hey, we talked about the challenges that you would have to face. And if Crestview beats Kirtland, you gotta figure Crestview then after that situation would definitely open some eyes going forward. But Crestview would love to nothing more climb themselves up those playoff rankings, and they need a win. The highest Crestview can get with a win right now is the 13th spot. They can't afford to lose. If Crestview is to lose, they would be out of the playoffs. Ursuline right now, 56-8 victory, 7-2 on the season now are the Irish after beating East, who is now 1-8 on the year, as Ursuline continues to roll in the conference. That wins them the Steel Valley Conference as they go undefeated. Or no, doesn't win it to them. Excuse me. They still have Week 10 versus Mooney. The Holy War versus Mooney Week 10. But they're undefeated in the Steel Valley Conference against both Cheney and East. Southern blanks East Palestine, goes 8-1 on the season after a 45-0 victory. East Palestine now 1-8 over in Division 7. Region 25, we look at where Southern is now ranked. It gets them back up to 6th. They're in a playoff spot, looking for a win to try to get themselves into the top 4. That's the case right now. Regardless of what happens, if Southern wins, they will get between a 2 and a 4 spot in the rankings, computer rankings. So that means that Southern has potential to host 2 playoff matchups if they're able to pull off the win against United. Big Week 10 matchup in that one. Fairport Harbor Harding wins the first of 2 consecutive matchups with the Ashtabula St. John Fighting Heralds, and a 41-12 victory, sending Fairport to 3-6 on the season. Ashtabula St. John is now 2-6 on the campaign. Struthers and Girard was a heck of a game where the Wildcats won 42-28. They're 5-4 on the year. Girard is 6-3. We'll talk a lot more about that game with Coach Bayek as he comes on at 1 o'clock. The Camfield Cardinals are now 7-1 on the season following a 43-7 victory against Hallen. And you look at where Camfield is ranked now over in Region 9. Camfield sitting right under Chardon at number 2. Camfield unlikely to catch Chardon, but they're the only team that can catch the Hilltoppers at the number 1 spot, as 4 points, separate these 2 teams. Chardon at 27.19, Camfield at 23.23, and some change. Camfield, of course, has to play a tough opponent this week. That's going to be Hungary and the Boardman Spartans, as Chardon for this week will be playing Akron North. So the East Lake North Rangers, 1-8 East Lake North for the Chardon Hilltoppers. So a likely win for Chardon. Camfield with a win has potential to take number 1 spot, but we will see. Ursuline also is sitting at 3, Cheney at 4 for Region 9. Jefferson gets another NE8 win. That would be number 3 on the season now for the Falcons. As when we talked to Coach Hanna earlier in the season, he talked about wanting to be competitive in the NE8. They spoil senior night over in Poland with an impressive 27-13 win, and that's been the key to that. Falcons defense has looked really good multiple times this season. They came up big against another defensive sound team. 6-3 now are the Falcons on the year. Poland is 5-4. Both these teams in the same region, Region 13. That win was huge for Jefferson as it has them jump Poland now at the 6th spot. So Jefferson back to hosting a playoff spot, looking to get a top 4 seed out of it. Poland now is sitting at 7. They dropped from number 5 a week ago. So going to be interesting to see where these two teams shake out after this week. Poland can get as high as number 4 with a win, but can drop as low as 16 with a loss this week. So it's all or nothing really for the Poland Bulldogs, win or lose this week, but they have clinched a playoff spot, as have the Jefferson Falcons, who can get as high as 2 with a win this week, but can drop as low as 14. Next game on the docket, Beaver Local wins a huge game as far as computer points are concerned against Division II opponent Cleveland John Hay, who was 7-1 going into this contest against the Beavers. Beaver Local absolutely took it to John Hay, 56-6 in that victory, as Beaver Local and John Hay both now 7-2 on the season. But that win has shot the Beavers all the way up to number 2 now in the Region 13 computer rankings, and that's the same region that we see both Jefferson and Poland in that we just mentioned. Beaver Local now number 2, just sitting under West Branch, and Beaver Local can take the number 1 spot with a win. Needs some help, though, as about 3.5 points separate them and the Warriors, but you never know when West Branch and Salem match up. They would need some help from the Quakers, certainly, but Beaver Local still has potential to take that top spot in Region 13. For the Lakeside Dragons, they definitely breathe fire all over Orange, as our article would suggest on ysnlive.com. 47-0 beating the Orange Lions, as Lakeside is now 6-3 on the season. Orange is now 0-9. 6-3 record for Lakeside as they are continuing to try to keep themselves in the playoff spot. Lakeside is 15, as we mentioned earlier. With a win this upcoming week for the Dragons, they can get into the top 8 within 7, but they can also, with a loss, drop to 12 or out. Here's the kicker, though. Win or lose, Lakeside could drop out of the playoffs, but they can get as high as 7, as low as 12. Need some help potentially to happen. They play Edgewood 5-4 on the season for week 10. So going to be interesting for the Dragons, who are continuing to fight for their playoff life going into the final week of the regular season. South Range keeps on keeping on in the NE8 as they get a 60-point win against the Lakeview Bulldogs, 66-6. The Raiders win it as they continue to keep themselves atop of the Region 17 computer rankings, and they clinch the number 1 seed, and they will be hosting their way through the first 2 playoff rounds if they are to win the first one. As it stands right now, if South Range were to start the playoffs right now, they would be playing the 4-4 Liberty Leopards, and the Liberty Leopards actually one of the hottest teams in the area. 4 consecutive wins for the Lep. So potentially interesting matchup going forward. You know, Liberty wants to keep climbing in that one. South Range, though, has clinched number 1 after that 66-6 win. United takes down one of the teams treading the middle grounds of the EOAC and the Lisbon Blue Devils. 45-6, very convincing win for United, and that helps United as far as computer rankings are concerned. It has bumped them up at least a spot. They're sitting at 9. They've clinched a playoff spot. United would still love to get themselves into the top 8 to at least host that first playoff round. With a win this upcoming week against Southern, we got to remember this is a big game, because for United, with a win, they can get as high as number 3. They can also stay number 9, so they can't drop at all with a win. They'll stay where they are at the very least with a win. But, you know, United and the Golden Eagles obviously hoping to get into the top 8 to host a playoff game. If they lose that game against Southern, the loss can put them between a range of 6 and 11 in the computer rankings. So United still can host a playoff game with a loss. Obviously, a lot more needs to happen for the Golden Eagles at that point, and the furthest they can drop is 2 spots from where they are right now. Liberty, like we mentioned them a little bit earlier, got their 4th win in a row against the LeBray Vikings. Now 48-20. Those 4 wins for Liberty has all of a sudden put them into playoff positioning. We said in Region 17, they're 16 overall right now, and they have a chance with a win in Week 10 to get themselves back to the playoffs. As 4 wins in a row against Camel Memorial, champion Newton Falls, and LeBray after an 0-4 start has the Leopards right on the cusp of the playoffs. They have a tough matchup, though, in Garrettsville Garfield, who is 7-2 on the season. They're going to Garfield for Week 10, and Garfield, coming off the loss against Brookfield, going to be a little bit upset, going to be a tough G-Men team to contend with. Should be an interesting game in the MVAC Gray Division. Lowville gets their first conference championship since 2002, winning the MVAC Scarlet with a 21-7 quality win over the Mineral Ridge Rams, and that win for Lowville has gotten them into the top 2, or placed them right under Warren JFK at the number 2 spot in Region 25. They would be lined up with the Western Reserve Blue Devils, so get the second matchup of the year with the Blue Devils if the playoffs were to start right now. And the funny thing is, they play Western Reserve this upcoming week in Week 10, so you could see that matchup happen 2 consecutive weeks in a row. But the Rockets are the MVAC Scarlet Division champions, as are the Brookfield Warriors the Gray Division champions. So we have a champion in each MVAC division. Lowville continuing to stay in the top 4 in their division. As for the loss for Mineral Ridge, drops them a little bit. As we look over where Ridge is, they're at number 10 right now. They have clinched a playoff spot, though, so good news for Coach Shaner and the Rams is that they will have a date in the playoffs. They will get as high as number 6 with a win. They can drop as low as 12, 2 spots where they are now with a win as well. With a loss, they can go up to 8 or drop down to 12. That's the ranges with a loss. But nonetheless, cannot drop further than number 12, according to Joe Itel, for Mineral Ridge in Region 21. Matthews got the 56-20 win over Windham, as Matthews is now 8-1 on the season. Their one and only loss coming against the Edison Wildcats earlier this year. The loss for Windham, we look over in Region 25, where the Bombers are located. Bombers are currently sitting at number 16, still in the playoffs as of right now. They need a win, though. With a win or a loss, Windham, the range of where they can be in this computer rankings is number 13 to out. So they can be out of the playoffs with a win or a loss, but a win against North Baltimore can definitely help the Bombers' case in getting into the playoffs. A lot of teams that are close within about a half point of the Bombers, Fairport, Harding, McDonald, all right there just on the outside looking in. Buckeye Central, also another team. So going to be interesting to see if the Bombers can hang on and get themselves to the playoffs. Hubbard gets a 37-20 win inside the NE8 conference against the Niles Red Dragons, but Niles looking competitive again. Antoine Brown, when he's healthy, he can do some big things, as the Red Dragons showed that they can compete with one of the best. Gino Lucente saying, "Go Rockets." Great defense Friday night, certainly against one of the best, holding Tristan Valley and the Rams squad to only 7. That was a quality football team in the Mineral Ridge Rams, and that was a defensive battle. It's what you see when conferences are on the line. Lowville, congratulations again to the Rockets in that one. But as talking about the Niles Red Dragons, this is a team that looked a lot more competitive, but you got to credit Hubbard. They got the win, and what we actually saw a little bit different than what we saw from the Eagles. And I think Jamie Thompson hinted at a change of the offensive look from this Eagles squad. And we saw a lot more offense put up from Hubbard than what we've been used to seeing this season. 37 points of offense, and Hubbard was scoring at will at times too, and they were really setting a tempo on offense, kind of going away from the wing T, it seems like, on the offensive side of the ball, and trying to get with the times and develop some new schemes and strategies offensively with the Eagles. The Eagles now are 6-3 on the year. Niles is 2-7. Looking at where Hubbard is located at over in Region 13, the Eagles are at number 12. They have clinched a playoff spot. And they will be, their range can go all the way up to 4 with a win, but all the way down to 16 with a loss. 4-14 is their range, 10 spots with a win. So Hubbard can go all the way up to the top 4. They can drop down to 14th with a loss. So a lot of range to happen for Hubbard, but they just want to get a win, take care of business, and see where the chips lay after week 10. Louisville gets a very big win, 24-17 over Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, to get the Leopards to 3-6 on the year. Notre Dame Cathedral Latin down to 2-7, but the win for Louisville bumps them up now to number 8 14 in the Region 9 rankings. And now for Louisville, it keeps their playoff hopes alive, importantly, because with a win, Louisville can get up to the 14th seed. A loss, no good for Louisville. No path to the playoffs for the Leopards with a loss. They play Lindsley, West Virginia, though, this upcoming week. And the Lindsley Cadets, if you remember, are the team that we talked about beating Cardinal Mooney. We've talked about it on the show. Mooney was up on the Cadets earlier this season. They beat Cardinal Mooney 28-14. Another notable name that they've beaten, not locally, but we know them, is the Steubenville Big Red 28-27 back on September 30th. They have also beaten Dover, another good team, 21-20 on the campaign. So interesting to see coming up if Louisville can knock off a team that has beaten some of the best throughout the state of Ohio in Lindsley, West Virginia. Big game coming up for the Leopards as they look for a playoff spot. How about East Liverpool getting a nice win for the Potters, 44-12 against Oak Glen, and doing it big time for Ohio. Second win of the year for the Potters. Nice to see for East Liverpool as they absolutely put it on their rivals from West Virginia. Salem put it on one of their conference rivals as well, 41-7 on the Dukes from Marlington, as the Quakers are now 6-3 on the campaign. Salem looking at where they're positioned, number 8. So right now, currently would be hosting a playoff game, just on the cusp of that. Need to hold that 8 spot. If they win this week against West Branch, mind you, they can get up to a 2 seed. 2-10 is their range. 6-16 is their range with a loss in the computer rankings. Salem definitely wants to keep themselves in the top 8. They have potential to host a playoff game with a win or a loss, but a win would definitely help take care of business and most likely get Salem to host a first round playoff game. Springfield got a 33-7 win over Jackson Milton, and for the Tigers, that is now win number 5 in a row after an 0-4 start. And you want to talk about a great job done by Coach Guerrero and the entire community of New Middletown, all those kids over there in that Springfield Tigers community, to get themselves back to this point in the playoff picture. Number 7 right now are the Tigers. They would be currently hosting a playoff game. And for Springfield, they take on Sebring in week 10. So favored in that one for the Tigers to now go 6 consecutive wins after dropping the first 4 of the year. And we look at where Springfield is at, number 7. They would be currently playing Lucas, a 4-5 team, in the first round of the playoffs. And anytime Springfield's in the playoffs, they're dangerous. Same region as JFK, Lowville, Southern. So we'll have to see if Springfield has something to say going into Region 25 for the first time this year. As Valley Christian snuck away, is a better term, with a win against the Wellsville Tigers. Wellsville tested them, gave them everything that they could handle, but Valley, like good teams do, did enough, got the win, and got themselves to 9-0 on the season. The Eagles are now 1 win away from an undefeated regular season campaign. Valley Christian also number 4 in the Region 21 power rankings. Power rankings will be coming up for YSN, but the computer rankings in Region 21, Valley Christian would be hosting the first 2 playoff games, that is, providing they win the first. And if Valley Christian were to start the playoffs today, they would be taking on Jackson Milton. Pretty interesting matchup, and I think a pretty fun matchup that would be in store, a battle of the birds. Indeed, with the Blue Jays taking on the Eagles if the playoffs were to start. Valley Christian going to have a Week 10 opponent. Already EOAC champions going to be taking on East Palestine in Week 10 as they look to go 10-0 on the campaign. Cheney gets a hard-fought victory, and it was athletes all over the field. I mean, these are 2 of the most athletic teams I think we have locally. Cheney beating the Warren G. Harding Raiders 21-14. Cheney now is 8-1 on the year. Warren Harding is 2-7. The loss for Harding has put them at 19. They can still get into the playoffs. They face off against Austintown Fitch in Week 10. Going to be interesting to see if the Raiders still have a path to the playoffs. A loss certainly puts them out of contention. For the Cheney Cowboys, though, we look back up as Cheney is number 4, still trying to hold number 4 seed as they want to host those couple playoff games. They have a great opportunity to do so. Their range with a win or a loss is 2-6, but but a win definitely would help them secure that a lot more than a loss. They play Youngstown East in Week 10, favorable matchup for the Cowboys, as again in Region 9, you have the potential to see Canfield, Ursuline, and Cheney all take a top 4 spot and host up to 2 playoff games in the first round. Could be interesting if everything goes chalk. You could have a 3 out of 4 chance for YSN teams to try to take out the Chardon Hilltoppers in this region, as that Hilltoppers team's been the kryptonite for a lot of teams in Region 9, certainly. We keep on going down the list. McDonald, how about this 28-6 victory for the Blue Devils over the Waterloo Vikings, as that win for McDonald has done wonders for them. It's bumped them up to 20 and given them an opportunity to get into the playoffs this week with a win. They take on Jackson Milton and the Blue Jays, and I tell you what, that's not a bad matchup for McDonald. They've looked good in a couple of matchups this year too. Defensively, it's going to be the question against the Blue Jays. Should be interesting, as the Blue Devils will be going in fighting for their playoff lives. As looking at Jackson Milton, though, that's also going to be interesting for the Blue Jays, because Jackson Milton was just on the cusp of the playoffs. They're still at 13. They could drop out of the playoffs with a loss. So an interesting game. Blue Jays, Blue Devils. A win could mean playoffs for either team. West Branch basically wins, well, actually does win, the EBC championship now after beating Alliance and Carrollton now in back-to-back weeks. 42-20 victory over Carrollton sends the Warriors to 6-3. West Branch is now 8-1 on the year, as they set up their big matchup, the game they call it, with the Salem Quakers for Week 10. West Branch, as we mentioned, over in Division 4, Region 13, is still sitting at number 1. Beaver Local hot on their tail, and Beaver Local, the only team that can dethrone West Branch, according to Joe Itel, from that number 1 spot. West Branch, with a win, though, would clinch number 1 overall. So West Branch wins, they're number 1 in Region 13. Edison, we talked with Coach Colopy. They got the 52-14 victory. They go to 9-0 on the year. Over in Region 17, Edison is now 4th overall. They would be hosting the first 2 playoff games. They would be lined up right now. Tough draw. We've talked about it, though. If teams in the top 4 get it, Cardinal Mooney is sitting at 13. So it would be a tough matchup indeed in the first round for Edison. But Wildcats 9-0, looking for 10-0 against Indian Creek in Week 10. Mohawk, our team over in the Keystone State, beat Freedom Area by a score of 42-13. Mohawk is now 3-6 on the season. Western Reserve got the 49-0 victory against Sebring, as the Reserve Blue Devils, we look at Region 25, they're ranked at 15. So in the playoffs right now, Western Reserve hoping to stay in the playoffs. They would with a win. They can control their own destiny, and that's a great thing for Western Reserve. Problem is they play the Lowville Rockets coming up in Week 10. So tough challenge for Reserve as they look to try to get themselves into the playoffs. They can still make the playoffs with a loss, but it could also knock them out of the postseason. So interesting to see for Reserve going into week number 10 against the Rockets. Saturday, another game I was at, as the Steubenville Big Red came to town, and boy, they invaded Mineral Ridge High School and brought troves of just crowds down there as they beat the Cardinal Mooney Cardinals 28-7. Steubenville is now 8-1 in the year. They're over in Region 15 in Division 4. They're ranked number 1 in that region. Mooney is now 4-5. We just mentioned number 13 in Region 7, Division 5. So the Cardinals still looking to climb into the playoffs some more. But the thing for Cardinal Mooney, or the key thing I should say after that loss, is that it really makes it hard for them to host. But with a win in Week 10, remember, it's against Ursuline, so up up 2 divisions, for the Cardinals, going up against the Irish in the Holy War. A win can get them as high as number 7, but that's the only path for the Cardinals to host a first-round playoff game. Other than that, though, it does look like Mooney has a chance to make the playoffs, good chance to make the playoffs, but a loss against Ursuline could take them out of it. 11 to out of the playoffs are the range with a loss. So Mooney might need some help if they can't get the job done in Week 10. But that'll do it for all of our football scores after week 9 of the regular season. Let us know what you think. What score surprised you the most? What game are you most excited for going into week 10? And which team are you, I guess, silently rooting for in the other divisions? I know we all have our teams that we follow and we pay attention to, but what are those sweetheart schools? Are those teams that you love to see do well? And I tell you one that we're going to be excited to talk to in just a few minutes. Coach John Beck of the Struthers Wildcats, kind of been that sweetheart school that I've been following all season too. Similar to Edison, I've been loving the story of the Struthers Wildcats team. And Struthers, we talked about them earlier in the show. Their win against Girard has clinched them a playoff spot. So we'll be talking with Coach Beck about that. Coming up at 1 o'clock, right after this break, on Ysn's Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun, it all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our Valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
You're looking to your future, preparing for your goals, and they're closer than you think. Because here, success is part of the plan. It's a place where academic and social opportunities are meant to prepare you for life, not just the next 4 years. You'll be equipped to face new challenges and turn hard work into a career. You're ready for your success to take root. And here's where it starts. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we offer a worry-free experience for all our customers.
From sales to financing and even service,
We'll help build your perfect vehicle
and lock in your trade value
while your vehicle is being built.
No worries.
We guarantee financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history. No worries. And when your vehicle needs service,
our award-winning team will get you back on the road.
No worries.
That's what going the extra mile means. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com or find us on Facebook.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2323 2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Welcome back, everybody, to Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. As we approach the 1 o'clock hour, we're going to be joined by another guest, and a big win on Friday night, to say the least, for the Struthers Wildcats, as Coach John Bay going to be joining me today. Let's slide you over to the big side of the screen, Coach, and throw your name up there. How we doing, Coach, after that big win?
Good, man. We're just still trying to get better every week. And like I said, on Friday, that was a great win for our program against a great Girard football team and coaching staff. So unfortunately, in high school football, you have to forget the wins just as fast as you forget the losses. So we're on to Poland now.
That was a game, though. It was close until it wasn't, right? And this was, I feel like, kind of redemption for these boys after having so many close games not go their way or not fall their way. And earlier in the season, it felt like they are finally putting their foot down and saying enough is enough at certain points in the ball game. What did you see from your boys, and what did you see in that late run to clinch that ball game?
It was a rough couple weeks there. The problem was we knew we were getting better, but it's hard to show success and progress when you're not getting the W. So we were just really trying to, tell the kids, just keep getting better. We're getting better. We see it on the field. We see it in practice. You just have to trust us. And, sometimes there's an old saying that you have to learn how to play in big games, and sometimes you lose them. And once you start learning how to play in those big games, you can start winning them. So I think that, we were playing in big games to start the year. A few weeks ago, we had 7 sophomores starting on Friday night. So I think they're just kind of, getting used to the Friday night lights. And luckily we have some older guys that have that experience that are leading the way for them. And I think we just finally, like you said, I think we finally just took that step to, we're sick and tired of playing in these overtime games. Let's just finish one already. So, and we did. I'm really proud of them.
Take me to that week 5 loss against Hubbard, right? After the game, take me into the locker room. Was there a sort of rallying point from that 1-4 start? Because you guys came out against a Lakeview team that was performing well against teams like the likes of Garrettsville Garfield in weeks prior. Put your foot down against them. Put your foot down against a red-hot Jefferson team going into it the following week. What was kind of that rallying point? What were the discussions after that Hubbard loss that really propelled you guys to these 4 consecutive victories now?
Yeah, it was rough. In the locker room after the Hubbard game, the message to the kids, we talked about, we can choose a path here. We can choose the path of people are going to start complaining, quitting, pointing the finger and blaming, or we can take the path of continuing getting better like we've been saying that we were. And, it's hard sometimes to convince a group of kids that, when you just lost 4 straight, that things are positive. It's hard to find positives in that. But, we were able to rally the kids, and they took Monday after that game just as serious as they did week 1. And I think they were just sick of losing. And they finally got to the point where it was, we talked to them about the path, and they all chose it. And they chose the path to continue getting better and fighting. And every interview I do, I tell everyone that our kids, if there's one thing, they battle every Friday, and they've been battling, and hopefully we continue to do so.
The win ultimately has clinched you guys a spot in the playoffs. And I mean, we talk about after a Hubbard loss, things were looking grim at some point too. Talk to me from a coaching staff perspective, and also from the kids' perspective, how much it means. I mean, obviously you guys are dead set focused. I know Poland's always a big game. You don't really have to get up much for that. But is there, in the back of your mind subconsciously, is there a good feeling or kind of a sigh of relief knowing that you guys have another week after this week 10 game?
I think as a coach it is, but it's my job to make sure that the kids aren't content. If we have a shot to get a home playoff game, that's our goal. And we got to, like I said to begin, we got to kind of move past the win, move past the possibility of clinching and this and that, and just focus on Poland. So, yes, our goal was week 11 that, there probably is a sigh of relief that we achieved that, but we can't be content. If we can play a home playoff game, man, that would be something special. So that's something that we definitely want to take care of. And in order to do that, like we've been saying all year, we got to be 1-0 this week.
What's the discussions going on between coaching staff, between the team, in preparation for Poland? Because I know they're going to be mad dropping that one against Jefferson on senior night too. They're going to be wanting their revenge. They're also going to be fighting for playoffs. You guys, same region. Talk about that outlook going in and getting prepared for the Bulldogs week 10.
Our focus point as a coaching staff to the kids is to avoid getting caught up in the distractions. This week, I've been here 9 years, and this is a week that kids can get caught up in, pep assembly distractions, bonfire distractions, which is fun stuff, which is great stuff. But, as the football team that's playing, we have to focus on our goal. And we can't get caught up on social media, on the news, and that stuff that, people might be saying things that bother us. We just got to continue focusing on us. So that's been our main message to the kids is let's focus on business. And if we take care of business, hopefully we could come out 1-0 this week.
I love an athlete that has tons of athleticism, but I also love an athlete that has tons of character. And in saying that, it's not obviously just a coaching staff that helps with the turnaround. It's the kids. And you have to do it on the field. You have to execute, but you also need those on-field coaches, those guys that are kind of leading the way, who have been some of those big, I guess, vocal leaders and team leaders of kind of helping carrying that team along the way of getting these 4 consecutive wins, getting you guys back into this position, in a position to compete for a home playoff game.
Yeah, I think our kids kind of sent that message at the beginning of the year when they voted for their captains. They voted for Chaz Okoniak, Brady Clyde, and Aiden Isabella, 3 seniors that have really been vocal for us on and off the field, in the classroom and in the locker room. But, it's special to have your name in the newspaper and, your name is the title of an article on the news. But there's a lot of guys in the background, especially in the senior class, that are program kids that you can't turn a program around without their at least role model behavior. And we have people like Colin Mateo who does what he's supposed to do every day in the weight room, even though his name might not be in the paper. He's leading these kids. And we have other seniors that do the same thing. So although you hear names like Alec Grzib and Tyler Sanchez and Anthony Carter, we have a lot of kids in the background that are buying into what we are preaching, and they are just as vital as these guys that you see in the newspaper and on the news every Friday night.
You guys, too, are getting some sort of superpower, it seems like, playing at home. You guys have played tremendously at home, gotten a lot of your wins at home, too. What kind of energy does this Struthers Wildcat faithful give you? Does it really feel like you got that 12th man on the field all the time?
Well, I'll tell you this. It's a lot easier playing home games than it is 3 in a row away at like South Range, Streetsboro, and Hubbard. So it is nice being back at home. And, we love a full crowd here. The Struthers community really takes its football Friday night serious. So it's nice, obviously, playing home, and it does give us a little spark to come out on this home field every Friday night. And the last 2 games, we've been telling the seniors 2 more guaranteed on this field. So that's something that also plays a role into a little motivation because you don't know how many more you have left. So that, I think, has played an extra motivation as well.
I mean, there's always something to improve on week to week. You've already hinted at that, Coach. So what are the things you're looking at to improve on going into this week, going forward for a team that has already shown so much improvement in the last few weeks?
Definitely just sure up little things, penalties, turnovers. If we can limit those, we've been saying from the very beginning, we don't want to beat ourselves, especially in this conference where you're going against great opponents every week. There's never a week off. The last thing we can do is shoot ourselves in the foot. So we just want to continue trying to limit those stupid little mistakes that can add up to big ones on Friday night. Our kids have done a great job Monday through Thursday preparing every week, and we preach to them, let's just get better. We need to make sure we get better every week. And I think if we can limit those mistakes that can really add up to crucial ones, that hopefully we continue to have success.
I think the greatest thing about coaching, and a lot of coaches have told me, there's a kind of a two-way street with learning, and I'm sure there's been tons of learning that the kids have gotten and have absorbed from you and the coaching staff over the course of these 9 weeks so far. But I'm sure you yourself have to have learned a lot about yourself as a coach too throughout the course of the season. What are some of the things these kids, I guess, have taught you? Maybe not necessarily about yourself, but just taught you over the course of this season.
I think that what these kids have really taught me is how much I need them to stay sane. There's just so many things that, especially as a head coach, that you deal with outside of the locker room. You deal with people saying things that, you know, might not be true about you, your coaching staff, or your football program. And I really found that this group has really kept me sane, not just this year, the last couple years. They really show me the importance of why I'm here and why I love coaching. There's really no other rewarding experience than a kid to come up to you after a game and he tells you he loves you, or just to get a big hug from one of your players that you've coached the last 4 years, and they show that appreciation. I think that's the biggest thing that these kids have really kept. I mean, when we were 1-4, I was just as upset as they were. And they were really just as important to me, keeping my head in the game and keeping me sane as our coaching staff was to them and the other side of things. So I think that's something I've really learned being a new head coach and, going through these growing pains we've gone through the last couple years and the last couple weeks at the beginning of this season.
Would you say the kids are one of the main points as to what's bringing you back year after year? And I guess why specifically Struthers? What is it about the Struthers community that keeps drawing you back year after year?
I went to Hubbard. I played at Hubbard, and it really reminds me of that community. When I played there, we were very tight-knit, and it was something special. And I feel that same special, unique family bonding feeling here at Struthers, especially within our locker room. I teach here as well, and I love teaching here. I love all the classes I have. It's not just coaching, but there's just something special about this community and this school that, I've been wanting to be the head coach here. And fortunately, they hired me to do so. And honestly, just like I said, this class was my sophomore class taking this head coaching job, and they have proven to me why I wanted this job in the first place. So although we went through a couple rough patches, the kids have really learned that not to quit when things get tough, and they've taught me that as well.
I mean, Coach, I've loved your guys' story all season long, and I think it's been incredible that you guys got yourself back into playoff positioning and a chance to keep it on over there in Struthers, Ohio as well. So I want to wish you the best of luck in Week 10. I know it's going to be a great fight with the Poland Bulldogs, Cats and Dogs, battling it out for Week 10, and we wish you the best of luck in that battle, and hopefully we're talking to you again real soon, Coach.
Thanks, man. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Coach John Beck, I mean, truly one of the best too. I mean, young coaches in the area, but does a great job with the Struthers Wildcats program. And we talk about those losses that they suffered. Geneva, a tough team, no doubt. Streetsboro, always quality. I see them up here in Portage County, always an athletic team. And dropping that one in overtime, a tough one. That was a tough Streetsboro team. Pushed South Range probably more than any other NE8 opponent has pushed the Raiders in the last few years, and it gave them everything that they could. 6 turnovers forced against the Raiders. They looked incredible in that one. And then another defensive game too, but just didn't fall their way against Hubbard. But as we talk with Coach Beck, it's all about these kids. They've been learning all season. They finally put their foot down. 41-3 victory against Lakeview, 42-14 win against Jefferson. I mean, putting their foot down indeed, and they got some big wins on the season, got themselves back to the playoffs. So we go from one interview to the next, as we'll get to hear from Anthony Hartwig as we get to go into the soccer realm. So from football to football, I guess, as Macy Toporser will be from Canfield's girls soccer program, as Anthony Hartwig was able to catch up with her with a player profile. So we'll get a chance to hear from her and Anthony Hartwig right now.
Anthony Hartwig here with a Canfield girls soccer player profile. I'm joined by junior Macy Toporser. Macy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You are one of the shining stars of the soccer field in the area, and you're a part of this Canfield program that has been so successful over such a long period of time. First question right off the bat, I mean, what's it been like to be part of a program that is not just successful in your 3 high school years, but also has been successful for such a long period of time at Canfield?
I honestly think it's really great. I think a big thing is Coach Simone always does a good job every year of really doing a good job of preparing the girls and setting us up for success. And then there's always a great group of girls coming in every year that have played club, and a lot of us have played together for a while now too. So it's always helpful coming in with that good team chemistry. So I think that's really a big part in our success.
Was there ever a lot of pressure coming into this program, knowing the success that it had and trying to hold up that standard?
Yeah, a little bit. Coming in, you knew Canfield has always been a good program all these years. So I knew it was going to be a challenge, but I think, the girls, even though it's such a tough program, it's competitive, but everyone's always there for each other, and there's such good team chemistry, and everyone's so welcoming. So
I'm sure Coach Simone did a lot to kind of ease that pressure. What were some of your first impressions of him as a coach, and what were some things that he kind of did to take that weight off of your shoulders to not feel the pressure of being in this really successful Canfield program?
yeah, he's always done a good job of also working with like our youth groups. So I worked with him even through middle school and stuff. So that also kind of helped, relieve the pressure, because I kind of already knew Simone and had a connection with him kind of before that, and a lot of the other younger kids too. So that kind of eased the pressure a little bit, knowing his coaching style. And he's just a pretty easygoing coach. He's always super helpful, giving you tips and like what you can do better. And he's pretty good about that stuff. So that was like really helpful, knowing like he's pretty honest with you, like this is what you need to do. And, you kind of work off what he says. And that's always super helpful.
Now, you might not be a senior, but you're definitely a leader on this team. You're definitely someone that the girls and even the young players in the program look up to with what you've been able to accomplish. So how do you think you lead this team, and what are some of your leadership qualities you think you bring to the table?
I think in a way there's not really one leader on our team. I feel like we all kind of contribute in a way. And what's nice about this team this year is it's not like just the seniors leading or just the upperclassmen. We've all played such a big role in being leaders this year. So I think that's what's been really cool about this year. And we all kind of keep each other on task and focused and kind of have the same mindset, which I think is really great. And we're all like super positive. So like, I feel like that's been super helpful, having a team that's positive, always wanting to work hard and win and have that drive. I know a lot of teams don't have that, but I think that's what's nice about our team is we're all on the same page and we all want the same goals.
As we continue to talk about the success of this program, how much pride do you have to put on that jersey every day and be able to call yourself just a member of this prestigious program that has been successful over the years?
Yeah, it's really great being able to play for a program with so much success, and it's really cool seeing like all the success we've had over the years. And it's good that so far we've done good this season and we've kind of been able to keep up that success. So there's a lot of pride in that. And putting on your jersey before every game, you want to make sure you're representing your school in the right way. So it's really good.
You guys have a couple of different uniforms. What's your favorite combo? What's your favorite jersey to put on?
I like the black and the red. I think it's pretty cool. Not a lot of other schools have it. It's kind of like the mix with like the stripes down the center. So that's kind of my favorite one. It's very unique.
Do you think when you walk into a field, there's kind of an intimidation factor with other teams knowing that this is Canfield and this is the way that you guys carry yourselves?
Yeah, I feel like being Canfield, there's always going to be a target on your back, but you kind of have to take pride in that in a way, and you have to be ready coming into every game knowing like, hey, like this team's going to come after us, and we have to make sure we're on our game and bringing 100% every game.
And you've definitely felt that target this year for sure. The AAC keeps getting stronger and stronger, and now you're in a position where you might have to share the AAC with Howland. I mean, what does it mean to you, not just as a soccer fan, but as a soccer player, to look around, and even though you have to compete against it, you look around and you see the sport of soccer continue to grow and continue to get better?
Yeah, I think it's really great seeing how much better the soccer has been getting in the area, and it's really good seeing other teams strive and improve every year and getting even better competition. Like, you love to see it, and just seeing the success other programs have been having recently too, and it's nice to see that in this area especially.
All right, earlier this season, you broke some pretty awesome news about your future. I don't want to take that moment away from you. For people that don't know, why don't you tell them what decision you made about your future soccer plans?
Yeah, so I had a few offers and I was communicating with a few other schools, but I ended up deciding to commit to Purdue University, Fort Wayne in Indiana. And that was a really exciting decision for me because that was really my goal. My dream was to be able to play soccer at the next level, especially Division I. So that was super exciting. And Purdue Fort Wayne really felt like the right choice for me because it felt like a home in so many ways, from the soccer program, which is successful, their academics is outstanding, and then just the personal connection I really had with the coaches was ultimately like the decision I made because it felt like home and it felt like the right fit for me.
I mean, got to be kind of awkward. You're going to a YSU rival. Have any YSU fans kind of given you that side eye? Like, what are we doing here?
I don't know. Yeah, YSU was one of the schools I was also talking to. I thought, it was a tough decision because YSU has such an amazing program there too, and the coaches there are really great. So that was a tough decision for me, but I think I could have found myself happy there too. But
what was the deciding factor? What was it about Purdue Fort Wayne that made you kind of tip the scales and say, this is where I want to call home?
One of the big things was academics. So I was planning on majoring in engineering, and from the academic standpoint, graduating with a degree in Purdue was really a big thing for me. And then, like I said, even from the soccer standpoint, they have a really good program going and they're having a really good season this year. And then on top of that, the personal connection I had with the coaches, they really believed in me and they've been so personal and helpful through the process, which made it a lot easier for me. And just being on campus, I felt like home, just talking to the girls and just seeing like the interactions between everyone on campus.
You are way ahead of the game. There are some players that don't get committed until maybe they're going into their senior season or even after their senior season. Here you are, you're not even done with your junior season. You're already committed and you already kind of know what you want to do with your future. How much kind of relief does that give you going into the next chapter of your high school career, knowing that that part is done? You don't have to worry about the recruiting process anymore and you can just focus on Canfield soccer.
Yeah, that was kind of nice, being able to make the decision early on. It kind of relieved that pressure a little bit. And now I can kind of focus on other things now too, like finishing out this season and then preparing for my club season and just kind of focusing more on that and then preparing for college and, the next step there.
And also to go into a college knowing exactly what major you're looking for and exactly what kind of education you're looking for, that's got to mean that you're also passionate about what career path you want to go into. If I ask you what kind of job you want to be in the next 5, 6, 7 years after college, do you have like a dream job that you're thinking of?
Yeah, I was gonna plan on going into engineering, but I was kind of thinking about starting in engineering and maybe being an architect. So that was kind of the goal as of right now, but definitely engineering is kind of really what I'm looking to do. And then I was kind of going to go from there and see where that leads me.
What drove you to that path? Like what kind of made you get interested in the whole engineering architecture field?
My dad is an engineer, so I really look up to him. So seeing what he does for his job, I kind of look up to him. So that kind of drove me to pick that as kind of like my path. And then on top of that, I feel like in a way it kind of relates to soccer because in engineering, you're constantly trying to solve problems and figure out solutions. So in a way, I feel like that kind of relates to the game of soccer because you're constantly trying to figure out, okay, like what can I do to break down this game and, apply that too. So
one of the things that's always fascinated me about soccer when I'm starting to get to know it a little bit more every year, There are no timeouts in soccer, really. You get a halftime and that's it. So problem solving on the field, I'm thinking has to be of the premium importance, because you have to be able to diagnose what a problem might be or what you're doing wrong and be able to fix it yourself without getting into a huddle with the coach and say, this is what we need to do. How much has that kind of taught you about, your career, what you want to be?
Yeah, I feel like with soccer, a lot of it is like you kind of have to adjust. Like you don't always get, like you said, there's no timeout. So you kind of have to like figure it out yourself. And in a way, you have to communicate to your teammates throughout the game. And even the coaches will try to communicate on the field, but you have to try to figure out how to solve problems kind of on your own and just figure out how to handle certain situations.
How well do you think that you coach yourself? I mean, how much do you watch your own kind of tape or look at your own kind of game and try to make adjustments yourself?
Yeah, I'm always super big on film. So me and my dad usually will take time and we'll try to watch film after the game and we'll kind of break it down of what I could do better next game or what can I take from one game and apply it to the next. And I feel like it's always super helpful getting to watch yourself on the film and really see like the full perspective of the game and what you can take away from it.
You'll head into your senior season next year. What are some of the things that you're kind of excited about of kind of going into that senior year and trying to make the last ride as memorable as it can be?
Yeah, I feel like one big thing that's going to be great going into senior year is, like I said, the team chemistry again. A lot of us have played together growing up throughout our childhood. So just kind of having that team chemistry is going to be super special. Especially I get to play with my sister Lexi and then my cousin. So that's always super exciting, getting the experience playing with my family. And then just going into that season, senior year is supposed to be super memorable. So just being able to kind of, us as seniors and upperclassmen, lead the team and hopefully win a district title and be as successful as we can be.
All right, so let's get to know you a little bit off the field. Are you a sunrise person or a sunset person? Which one do you prefer?
Ooh, probably sunset. I do not like waking up early, so definitely a late nighter.
How many times do you hit the snooze button in the morning?
Probably twice. Probably twice every morning.
What's your favorite breakfast?
I usually eat, I would probably say fruit or like a granola bar is always my go-to.
All right, you say fruit. What's the favorite fruit on your list?
Probably either apples or grapes.
All right, all the healthy choices. What about a guilty pleasure snack that you have that you like to kind of fill your sweet tooth with?
I do a lot of that. So probably chocolate chip cookies. I can eat 100 of those. I love chocolate chip cookies.
Who makes the best chocolate chip cookie?
Probably my aunt. She loves to bake. She's always making dessert. And I think I'm a little biased, but I think she makes the best chocolate chip cookies.
All right, one of the best parts about the high school sport experience are the snack bags after away games. What teammate has the best parent snack bag? Like, what teammate's parent brings the best snacks to the team?
Ooh, I know last year there was a few girls that would bake cookies. I'm trying to think of this year. I think Addie Masters brought in some cookies one day. They were pretty good.
I think you've already answered this. What is the one thing in a snack bag that if it's there, it's a grade A snack bag and it gets your seal of approval? Is it cookies?
Probably cookies, yeah.
Are there any types of cookies that you don't like?
Not really. I mean, I'm not a big fan of oatmeal, but other than that, I pretty much like any cookies.
So like Cookie Monster, like C is for cookie. Let's go. What are some of your favorite things to do outside of soccer, hobbies that you have, things that you do to try to take your mind off things?
A big thing kind of outside of soccer is I usually try to hang out with my friends is a big thing. So we'll try to get together. We'll go swimming in the summer or we'll go out to eat. We'll have team dinners after practice and stuff and team hangouts. We're also pretty close with the boys team, which is pretty cool. So we'll do stuff with them and even away from my friends, just hanging out with my family. We'll have movie nights and we like to travel too. So that's always fun.
What is your favorite hangout spot with your friends?
I would probably say by the pool. Usually my friends will come over to my house in the summer and we'll go swimming. So that's usually where I hang out in the summer.
That might answer this next question, but what's your favorite season of the year?
Summer.
Summer, there you go.
Yeah.
What's the least favorite? What's the one that's like, no, we're not doing it?
I would probably say winter because I like the month of December, but then after that, when we kind of get into where it's snowing and it's cold out, I kind of get over it. I'm like, eh.
You said that your family travels a lot. What is your favorite vacation spot that you've been?
Probably Jamaica. We went there for spring break this year with my family and a bunch of family friends, and that was probably one of my favorite trips we've went on so far.
Where is one place that you haven't been on vacation that you would love to go?
I think Australia. That was a big thing me and my family were talking about it. It's a pretty cool place I think we'd want to visit.
You guys are exotic.
Yeah.
Most people I ask that question, they're like Florida or Texas or no, Australia. I love it.
Yeah.
Love the unique answers. Where's one place that if you could live, like a dream spot to live and settle down, not vacation, but just live?
Probably Tennessee. My family, we visit there probably every year in the Smoky Mountains, and we're almost bought a vacation home down there, but we kind of love it down there, so I can see myself living over there.
All right, and my final question to you is, if you were to be in another sport, put your hat in another sport, what sport do you think you'd want to test yourself at?
Ooh, I would probably say volleyball. I think it's a pretty cool sport. It's very team oriented and everyone's kind of always cheering each other on. And my cousins, I watched them grow up play volleyball, and then my sister played last year, and I think it's a really fun sport to watch too. So,
have you ever tried it?
No, I have not. I've only played backyard volleyball. That's about it. But
what's your favorite sport to be a part of the student section in?
I'd probably say football. Football, I feel like there's always a lot of fans there, and it always gets pretty exciting watching. And then on top of that, with the themes and stuff, it kind of adds on to it and makes it pretty cool too.
All right, Macy, before we let you go, I want to give you the chance to give a shout out to your support system, all the people that have been there for you throughout your career.
Yeah, so I would say I would shout out my coaches, Coach Mandy Green, Coach Brian Stiles, Coach Phil Simone, and Coach Jackie and John for kind of always being my support system and always pushing me and developing me throughout the years. My teammates for always pushing me on the field and helping me get better. And then especially my family, because without their endless sacrifices, I wouldn't be able to have the opportunities I do now. So.
All right, Macy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate it. We love talking to you. We wish you the best of luck going forward, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
That was Macy DePorcer with our own Anthony Hartwig, catching up with the Canfield's junior soccer player that's going to be playing out at Purdue Fort Wayne out in Indiana. So already committed as a junior. She still has her whole senior year left for her. Another kid that's going to be you would figure getting committed soon, DJ Williams, after the performance he had on Friday night. We're going to be having the Falcons junior star who ran for over 300 yards against the Boardman Spartans on right after this break on ysnlive.com.
Hi, this is Zell Bush.
Hi, this is Tom Clem.
Hi, this is Steve Rossetto. Hi, this is Ryan Miller. Hi, this is Rich Sakui from WRS Wealth Advisors. With our combined 80 years of experience,
WRS Wealth Advisors are the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services.
Or visit WRSwealth.com.
Go Raiders.
Go Dogs.
Go Cats. Go Dogs. Go Tigers. Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
reliability, innovation, scale. These 3 values are those we look forward to in our business and in our team. If you're ready for a reliable employer who looks constantly to think outside the box in big ways, we're ready for you. Apply now. Help us push the envelope and deliver success. Envelope 1. Take that one extra step.
Winter, spring, summer, and fall. Mill Creek Metro Parks is your park for all seasons. Make a memory in the park. Plan your visit today at millcreekmetroparks.org.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update. Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back, everybody, to Monday's edition of Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. As we await trying to get DJ Williams on the show, having a little bit of technical issues right now, and getting the Falcons junior running back star on. But as we await, we do have something that did drop in from YSN Live social media pages, and it is the Week 9 Power Rankings, as we wanted to go over them, too. These are fresh off the oven, literally posted within the last 20 minutes, and you see South Range sitting at the number 1 spot. Austintown Fitch coming in at 2. Cheney at 3. Lowville 4. Canfield at 5. West Branch is 6. Warren JFK 7. Valley Christian 8. Ursuline is 9. Brookfield is 10. As a reminder, how this ranking system works is everyone gets a vote out of the YSN staff, and then all those votes are then tabulated, addressed to as points then based on where each of the staff members rank them, and then they are hashed out, and this is what we got for you for week number 9. And in this one, interesting to see that it pretty much has looked the same. Top 4 stay the same. 5 and 6 swap in Canfield and West Branch after Canfield had that win against West Branch earlier in the season, despite Canfield missing a game this season, still having the edge now over the Warriors as they're in the number 5 spot. JFK didn't move at all, neither did Valley Christian. Ursuline, though, is back on the list at number 9, jumping Brookfield. We'll talk about this. Save this in, get your questions out, and we'll talk about these power rankings in just a minute. But right now, we got to bring up one of the big stars in the Austintown Fitch Falcons program. It's none other than DJ Williams, young man who rushed for over 300 yards on Friday night. How are we doing today, DJ?
I'm doing pretty good. I just got done with school.
I mean, looking at that, you got done schooling the Spartans defense, too, on Friday night. 300 yards, first time ever in Falcons history. And, I mean, there's a long list talented runners. I was seeing on Twitter too, you got some love from Antoine Harris, the man you broke the record from. What did that mean to you to have all that love and see all that support from current Fitch Falcons now and alumni giving you that love after breaking that record?
It means a lot to me. There's a lot of great football players that come through Austintown Fitch, and for me to be the only one in history to rush for 300 yards and break the single game rush record is pretty special.
Did you know it was going on during the game? Were you being informed, or was this something completely news to you after the game? How'd you find out?
Me having 300 yards was news to me after the game. I knew I had a lot of yards, but I didn't think I had that much. And then before one of our offensive drives, one of my coaches came up to me and was like, "You only 2 yards away from breaking the single game rushing record." And I didn't know what it was at the time. So I was like, "Oh, I just got to get these 2 yards and I'm being in the record books." And I end up having 300 yards.
And that's a crazy stat line too. And you were giving a lot of love to your offensive line as well too. What makes this offensive line so good and give you the opportunity to be so productive week in and week out?
What makes our O-line so special is that they got a lot of heart. They're not the biggest O-line, but they for surely will put all their effort into what they're doing. And they all move as a unit, and that's what you need as a running back. You need your O-line to move as a unit, and they get the job done.
This big week came after a Wadsworth game where you guys went 4 overtimes, and you were basically the primary featured back in that one after an early injury to Jamel. What were the talks with Coach Parker and with your offensive coordinators going forward after that injury, knowing that you're going to get the brunt of the snaps going into this game and games going forward?
Really, talk with Coach Parker and Coach Landerman was just like, we're just going to stick with our run game. There's no need to change anything up. It's just we don't have me and Jamel. It was just me. But coaches had faith in me to do what I had to do and get the job done. That's what I did on Friday versus Boardman.
Did you have to flip a switch with when that happened too, knowing you were about to get a lot more snaps, or did you get energized? Did that motivate you a little bit?
Yeah, I did get motivated a little bit because I was like, it's my time to show what I could really do without Jamel. Even though I love Jamel a lot, I want him to come back as soon as possible. But it was just my chance to show people, like, yeah, this was going to be like my senior year.
Carry that load, and you took it forward. Is football a part of your future? Do you want it to be a part of the future? Is that something in the plans of DJ Williams going forward?
Yes, I want football to be my future for surely. I love football. I've been playing football since I was 5. It's just always been a part of me and my family, and hopefully I can go to the next level and play college football.
Looking at the next level too, what are some things that you look for in particular from programs, from coaches? What are the things that you've liked and you've learned along the way that you've grown to adapt and grown accustomed to in your coaching style? What are your preferences in coach?
Well, me personally, I like when the coaches have a tight bond with their players, because that means the coaches, like, it's just not about football with the coaches. It means like they actually care about the well-being of their kids and how we all develop as young men.
You got a lot of great teammates on this team too, that, I mean, you guys all support each other. Guys like Brian Robinson too, great defender, Josh Fitzgerald too. I mean, all over the place. Deshaun Vaughn's taken over. How close-knit is this team? Because it seems like the chemistry has been turned up to 11 ever since Coach Parker has taken over too. What are some of the things that he enforces about building that chemistry and that bond, that brotherhood amongst the team?
Well, I know in the summertime, sometimes we take trips, like we go to water parks together, or we do like team activities. But a lot of us, we all just hang out on our own. Like we go over each other's houses and hang out and do stuff like that. And the chemistry is very tight because the senior and junior class right now, we all been playing together since we were like in 5th grade, 6th grade. So like our chemistry is very tight, and we just all gel together well and play good.
You guys got, you got that 300-yard game under your belt now. I mean, that's a great record, another record that you can solidify your name under. But this didn't just start this year. I mean, we go back to Canton McKinley last year. I mean, you had a big game too in Hall of Fame Stadium, and you've always been not shy to those big moments. What does it mean to you when, like, the lights are shining bright? It's Fitch and Boardman. It's a rivalry game. Your juices, you don't have to really get up for this game. They should be flowing. But what enables you to shine bright when the lights are shining brightest on you?
Because I work my hardest when I'm at practice. If you work hard at practice, the games will be like practice. So I just at practice, I just go hard, give all my effort. So when Friday comes, it's like second nature to me, and it's not like too big of a moment for me.
I know football players too, all athletes really, never satisfied too, always wanting to get better, always wanting to take that next step. So from sophomore year to junior year, what were the biggest things you wanted to focus on improving in your game, and what were the things you wanted to look at in practice in the weight room and focusing on?
One thing I knew for sure I had to do was get faster. To be Division I running back, you got to be pretty fast. So I want to get faster, stronger, and I also want to get smarter in the film room. I want to learn more about like defensive fronts and more about like our blocking schemes and how we run our plays to get better. So in the game, when I get in there, the run game just come easy to me, and I can understand what's going on everywhere, not just what I'm doing.
In all your years of football, what's been a piece of advice or maybe a quote, a motto that a coach has told you that's really stuck with you throughout your career?
One quote that's always stuck with me is just work hard when nobody's looking. Like everybody can work hard when the coach is right there. It's about what you're doing when the coach is not there. Like you got to motivate yourself to be great.
Go through those workout routines and how much hard work goes into being the type of athlete that you've become. And I mean, give that kind of blueprint for all those young athletes, those young football players, as you remember when you started out too, that are looking up to you just breaking this record. What is that? What's the advice? Lay out the blueprint. How do you get to your levels of success? What's the things people aren't seeing?
I lift 2 to 3 days a week. But even though I lift, recovery is also important. Like after practice, if I'm feeling any like bumps or bruises or I'm tight anywhere, I stretch, get some ice, take ice baths, and stretch. That's all it really is. You gotta make sure your body is always feeling good and healthy and prepared for your next game.
You talk about raising that football IQ. I mean, the best way to learn it too is just from the players too, the seniority that's above you. What were some senior players and some players that were above you in class too that you really looked up to from your journey starting out on this football team to now that you really learned from and they kind of took you under their wing?
Some people who really helped me my freshman year, Tyree Mitchell, AJ Bird, Nate Leskovac, Todd Simons, obviously Devin Sherwood. And just really all my teammates, for real, they all and all the upperclassmen, they all help we all help with the younger classmen and just make sure they know everything and make them feel like they're supposed to be here. Like we just want to help them and make sure that they're good. So when they become upperclassmen, they can do the same thing to the classmen up under them.
Who's a player that you've kind of taken under your wing or that you're taking pride in seeing their success too as an underclassman and that you want to see become successful at the varsity level one day?
One of our linebackers and another one of our backup running backs, Jay Allen Underwood, he has number 8. He's pretty good. I took him up under my wing because me and him play the same positions on offense and defense. So I'll just be teaching him like what be happening and trying to help him out so he can become the best player that he can be.
You get to be in the locker room with Coach Barker. You know the culture, the identity of what it means to be a Falcon. For all those underclassmen, for all those middle schoolers that are looking to be at this level, to get to the varsity stage too, what's the best advice you have for them on what it means to be a Falcon and what to expect?
They should take a lot of pride in being a Falcon. Wearing a Fitch Falcon football jersey every Friday ain't easy. It's a lot of hard work and pride and determination that's put into what we do as a program and as a football team. And it's just not about football. It's about everything. We are all about building character and things like that. So when they get up here to the high school level, they should expect a lot, but it's going to be a lot if you want to be a Fitch Falcon.
Before we let you go, I mean, we're one more game on the season too. It's against Harding. I know you guys are trying to get yourself solid playoff positioning as well. And Harding Raiders never make it easy. Throw records out the window with this game again. They're good athletes on both sides of the ball too. What's the mentality like going into the Raiders week, and what are the talks right now inside the locker room hosting Warren Harding week 10, chance to get 9 wins on the season?
The talk with Warren is just because their record isn't that good doesn't mean they're not good. Like you said, they have good players on both sides of the ball. Warren always has good athletes. We just got to do our job, focus it on the film, and do our job and be assignment sound. And Friday, we will see what happens at the game.
All right, DJ. I mean, you're already off breaking records too, and I mean, we expect you to just keep on keeping on. I guess the final question too, before I let you go, you had 300 yards rushing, you had 30 yards receiving, over 332. I mean, you already throw out love to the 332. Did it mean that much more that you had over 330 in the 330?
Yeah, I didn't even know that until now. Until you just brought it up to me. That is pretty special.
Get the 330 from the 330. DJ Williams, the record breaker over there at Austintown Fitch, 300 yards in that game. We wish you the best of luck, man. Good luck against Harding, and hopefully we'll be talking about another win real soon.
All right, thank you for having me.
Thank you. DJ Williams, great young man over there in that Austintown program. I mean, he's been special since day one. Really, that breakout game at Hall of Fame Stadium against Camp McKinley last year, 3 touchdown performance. He really showcased what he can do on the football field, and he just showcased it once again. Multiple big runs against the Spartans. First 300-yard rusher in Austintown history. Something special for him, and only to get a lot more improved as the season and seasons go along for Williams. He has gotten stronger, gotten faster too, and tough to take down. Him and Jamel James, a tough 1-2 combination in that backfield, no doubt. We'll go right into the power rankings again as we'll bring them up for football. As we have week 9, Fitch sitting at number 2, 9-1 on, or 8-1, excuse me, on the season. 9-0 Raiders at number 1. Again, remember, voting from multiple staff members. They all give their picks, and then they shuffle out the teams based according to where each staff member ranked their top 10 teams. So let's have a conversation. We could have a quick debate on this if we want before the end of the 2 o'clock hour, and we get you into Casual Sports Podcast. But what do you think about these top 10 rankings, as the Raiders are at top, Falcons 2nd, Cheney 3rd, Lowville 4th, Canfield 5th, West Branch 6th, JFK 7th, Valley Christian 8th, Ursuline 9th, and Brookfield is 10th. A lot of teams 9-0 on this season, a lot of 1-loss, 2-loss team on this list as well. There's plenty of teams, I would say, that are on the outside looking in, and some notable ones that are missing. I think one, we talked to the coach earlier, Coach Colopy, and the Edison Wildcats sitting at 9-0 on this season. Probably have some questions as to why they're the only 9-0 team missing on this map, or on this top 10. That's going to be an interesting question going forward. But some teams that you see on there, Brookfield winning the conference championship. They're the MVAC Gray champions. Lowville's the Scarlet. As West Branch has locked up EBC. Valley Christian's the EOAC champions. Ursuline's still a good chance to lock up the Steel Valley Conference. They're still alive in that one, as they need to beat Mooney in the Holy War for week 10. But let us know what you think. The only real movement we've seen comes from the bottom of the list. The bottom 5 positions, really 5 and 6 swapped in Canfield West Branch, but not a whole lot of movement in our top 5. And all of it really coming from that bottom. But we saw Ursuline getting reintroduced to this list, the only 2-loss team now on the power rankings. But you got to remember those 2 losses coming to Austintown Fitch and Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's, both up a division in Division 2, Region 5, and 2 of the best in that region right now. Brookfield, though, drops down to 10 despite beating a great Garfield team, as they just on the cusp here at the 10 spot, but hard to rank these teams for certain. And you look at all those teams, like we said, outside looking in, there's some undefeated teams such as the Edison Wildcats that are on the outside looking in right now. There's a couple of 1-loss, 2-loss teams as well that have a debate or have a question to get in here as well. But I like the way that this list is kind of sorted out, and I like the way that they shuffled things a little bit. Going into the top 5, the teams that have won have proven themselves, I think, multiple times this season, and the losses that they have to Fitch against Washington, Cheney against Ursuline, they're good teams on the year that these teams have dropped to. And honestly, with what we see for week 10, what movement can we ultimately see? How much more movement can we see in week 10? What is the biggest shift that we can see? Can we see a new number 1? How many teams have a shot at the number 1 spot in this power rankings ahead of the final week of the regular season, or the South Range all but have it locked up right now. As I think these teams, but Fitch, Cheney, both have a great you can make a great debate for putting them at 1. I still think Canfield, despite the fact that they played one less game, has a great you can make a debate for them being one of the best as well. That one game does hurt them, and we see the same thing happening to JFK, missing that 1 week because it got canceled throughout the season. But Valley Christian, can Valley Christian really break into the top 5? Can Valley climb even more? It's hard to say after their wins against Southern, the wins against United. Those were the 2 really biggest wins on their season. It just doesn't seem like voters can push the Eagles above 8 as well. But this is going to be an interesting debate. Again, these are just fresh off the oven. These just got posted no more than about a half hour, 40 minutes ago, and I am certain that this is going to be an ongoing discussion and debate on the shows of YSN Airwaves today, both on the Casual Sports Podcast following from 2 to 3 and the Power Hour from 3 to 4. Before we get you wrapped up for this show, we want to also remind you that playoff volleyball will be going on in the next couple days. So get out there and support those volleyball teams that have been performing all season long. We've had a bunch of talented teams go. Great season. Only 1 loss, 2 lost teams on the year. You go Girard, you go Lakeview, you go Fitch, you go Wellsville, Mineral Ridge. So many great teams. East Liverpool, a lot of them too. Girard, I believe, is one of the teams in action tomorrow. We also have South Range and Columbiana. That's going to be a great matchup that's going to be going on tomorrow. Check on the ohsaa.com or .org, I should say, ohsa.org. Check out their website. Go to the volleyball page and check out the brackets tab below. Also, if you also want to check too, if you don't want to go through all that, that's a lot of hassle. Go to the YSN Live page, ysnlive.com. We have a story on all of the regional breakdowns for the YSN team. So if your team's a YSN team, they're going to be in that regional bracket and they're going to be broken down as well. So we already kind of did the heavy lifting and the work for you. Just go over to ysnlive.com to get that. As well as always check out ysnlive.com/live to get the games updated as they are live every night as we get you ready, geared up, and ready for week 10 as another week of the high school football season is in the books. That'll do it for this edition of Running Point of ysnlive.com, from ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. The Casual Sports Podcast, as we mentioned, with Alec Caberna, Matt Morrison, and Mike Wolfgang, going to be up next from 2 to 3, followed by DJ Yoakley's Power Hour from 3 to 4. All that and more on ysnlive.com. And stay tuned with us as Anthony Hartwig should be back in studio tomorrow for the Tuesday edition of the show. And going to have some interviews, I believe, with both the Camel volleyball head coach Tyler Allen, as well as the Camel volleyball player Kendall Brunn, as should be interesting to hear from both of them. I did the interview with Kendall too, and a great athlete and a great character in that as well. So enjoy both those interviews tomorrow as Anthony returns from Kansas City. I'm sure he'll have a lot to talk about on Tuesday editions of Running Point. But until then, this has been Monday's edition of Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. This is Ty Bartel bidding